I am at the Mark Twain house in Hartford, Connecticut. This is where Mark Twain is, the Mark Twain House and the Mark Twain Museum. And this is where he lived for about 17 years, starting in the 1881.
And it is a magnificent house.
You've been there.
I have been there.
Now, Lee, do you have a favorite Mark Twain book?
Well, I've always been partial to Huckleberry Finn. I just love it. And I am so excited about reading what I know we're going to talk about in just a little while.
Yes. Brought a copy of James we're going to talk about. It's very deservedly needs to be spoken about in today's literary world. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rare Book Cafe, the book lovers' rendezvous. Here I am with my co-host, Lee Linn. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Ed. Oh, wish I were where you are.
Well, I am with our special guest today. We have an absolutely special guest. I'm telling you, the ratings of the show today are going to go through the roof.
And who might this special guest be?
Let me introduce you to my good friend and special guest, Samuel Clemens, otherwise known to us as Mark Twain.
Well, hello, Sam. We're so glad to have you.
Hello, Lee. Hello, Lee.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I am at the Mark Twain house in Hartford, Connecticut. This is where Mark Twain is, the Mark Twain House and the Mark Twain Museum. And this is where he lived for about 17 years, starting in the 1881.
And it is a magnificent house.
You've been there.
I have been there. And,
Yeah.
it's just an amazing place. Of course, the decor of the time is just so overwhelming.
Right, but the architecture of the house.
Yes. He had it designed for him. It's huge. It's about, I don't know, 12,000 square feet. Bigger than my house, that's for sure. Certainly bigger than your apartment.
And that's where he wrote all his books. I think he wrote 12 books there.
Something like that. Entertained people. It was quite. It was quite.
Now, Lee, do you have a favorite Mark Twain book?
Well, I've always been partial to Huckleberry Finn. I just love it, and I am so excited about reading what I know we're going to talk about in just a little while.
Yes. Brought a copy of James we're going to talk about. It's very deservedly needs to be spoken about in today's literary world.
Yeah. But almost anything by Twain is fun to read, and going back to the Jumping Frog of
Calaveras County.
It's all fun to read, and it's hard to pick up a Twain book that you're not going to enjoy.
Well, growing up in Connecticut, of course, I was partial to A Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. And once you can get over the fact that the guy got bonked on the head and was somehow time transported, he wasn't quite as elegant in science fiction as Jules Verne.
Right, or Wells, yeah.
Or Wells.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, they wouldn't let me film on the tour. I took the tour of the house this morning. They wouldn't let me film in the museum, but I did secrete several bootleg copies of videos that I think Alan's going to cut in somewhere along here to show off parts.
And I think those are in the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in the house. I'd be broadcasting from the Hartford jail if I had video
No,
inside there.
that's too bad. The house is just incredible. He hired the artisans from Tiffany's to do decor in there. There's hand painted walls and custom designed wallpaper.
And the woodwork and mahogany throughout the whole house
Yes.
is just a craftsmanship.
It's amazing. It's a house that's designed for show, that's for sure. But seem to have lived very comfortably there, at least upstairs in the billiard room.
Yeah, upstairs in the billiard room.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to let Alan cut those in, and while he's cutting in those short video segments, I can video from outside the house. I'm going to take a walk, and we'll next have a little discussion. But before I do that, there's one more person I want you to meet, and let's see where he is. And there he is. Hey, Lego.
Legos.
Oh, Lego Mark Twain.
Oh my goodness. Well, he was not there when we visited.
All right, Lee, I'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Here we are in a portion of the Mark Twain Museum. We see copies of manuscripts here that he wrote, a copy of the typewriter that he used. Love this photograph. Check this out. This is Mark Twain in a bathing suit. Who could resist? On the walls are pictures of famous people, actresses, other authors that he associated with throughout his life. Mark Twain, the great American author. If you ever get out to Connecticut, you got to come by this museum. As with any good museum, it's filled with lots of artifacts, historical recreations, many of them original. This you can't decline. There's a book signed by Mark Twain, and it's the fun things you get to see in historical places like this. All right, let's step on in. I have sampled this life by Mark Twain, and let's take a look at some of the books that he has written. Pudd'nhead Wilson. There's an example of his writing desk. Of course, we've got Following the Equator, The Game, a printing press from his failed business venture, A Tramp Abroad. Oh, what it's like to be in this room filled with first editions of all of these Mark Twains. The Innocents Abroad. The Celebrated Jumping Frog and Roughing It. Oh, I loved this as a kid. The Frog of Calaveras County. And here we have Life on the Mississippi, one of his very first novels. Oh, this is so much fun just to be here. And The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Welcome back. And before Lee and I get back together again, I just wanted to give you a quick look at the house itself. They wouldn't let me take pictures inside, but let's take a look at what we got going on the outside here. It was designed in the style of a conservatory, a boat, and a castle. And if you look at this wonderful architecture, you can see all of those components built in there.
You can, and you can imagine that porch peopled with people in Victorian dress.
Yeah. And
whiskey.
Right up there in the corner, that pointy gable in the corner, that is Mark Twain's billiard room and his writing room. And could you imagine him standing out there on the porch, puffing away on his pipe?
I believe it was a cigar.
Or a cigar, may have been a cigar as well.
And
he had him up there being with General Grant. You know, he was very close with General Grant. He saved the Grant family by publishing his memoirs, and as a result, Julia Grant got the largest commission check for a book in the 19th century.
Yeah.
was the only good business decision that Mark Twain ever made.
I think he made some poor ones. Perhaps
He did. He went bankrupt. Good thing he married a rich woman.
yeah, his publishing company certainly did not do well. What's going on there?
This is the carriage house. Looks like there's some construction going on. They got some new pavers that they're putting in. But it was really also a menagerie of animals. The Twain daughters loved cats and had scores of them at times. Mark Twain always had 3 dogs and other sundry squirrels in the attic. I'm not sure I'd let my kids keep squirrels in the attic, but other animals about the property. And here we are at the front door. Harriet Beecher Stowe was already living here at the time, and Mark Twain came to visit her, saw how lovely the surroundings were. She was already a very well-known, fairly well-off, but still a tortured author at the time. I never did sell a collectible copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin, but I did once sell her second book that she spent years having to justify writing of her first book.
Well, I've sold one collectible copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin, though it was a British edition. But the neatest thing I ever sold that related to that was a cardboard house that that was a little playset that was based on Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah, some ephemera.
Yeah. It was really a neat little set of buildings. There were no people in it, but there were the buildings. And it was a nice little set. The most interesting, well, not maybe most interesting, but two pieces of Twain I have right now is his story of Tom Sawyer Detective was published in 2 issues of Harper's, and I have that. And also,
cool. That's cool. You got both issues?
And I also have a fairly recent Huck Finn, the robotic edition of Huckleberry Finn that my son found and gave as a gift to a friend who was a big Twain collector. And after he passed away, we acquired it. We acquired it back. And I haven't read it, so I'm not real sure exactly what the premise is, but it is the robotic Huck Finn. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of Huck Finn, Lee, we can't go by without talking about Percival Everett's new book, James, shortlisted for the Pulitzer Prize and just flying off the shelves. I just picked it up a couple of days ago when I realized we were going to do this show. So I can't really make much of a comment. I just started on the first couple of chapters, but it's
I haven't read it yet.
Great premise.
But I understand that Everett is doing something online tonight.
Yeah. He's going to be simulcasting tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Can we tell our listeners how to find that? Or I don't know that we'll be published by then.
Yeah. We'll publish the link. I'm sure it'll be recorded and we'll publish a link at the end of the show. Okay. But I think it's kind of hard to get before this show comes out.
Okay.
All right. So at the end of the show, everybody look for a link to see Percival Everett talking about his new book, James, because I don't think he's going to make it to Powell's. He's a busy guy.
Well, that's too bad we can't have him on the show.
Yeah. Speaking of Powell's, this whole week up in Portland, Oregon was Book Week. Holy smokes! I heard stories from my old friends back there. Books were just flying off the shelf. First time ever, Powell's opened up their warehouse of 200,000 books, and it caused an entire traffic mess. They had to call in the police to untie the traffic. So many people showed up.
Oh my goodness! Was this at the same time as the Rose City Book Fair?
Yeah, part of the festival. They've had book walks, book crawls, bookstore crawls around town. Of course, they're going to culminate in the book fair this weekend.
Well, that would be fun to roam through Powell's.
All right, Lee, you going to leave us with any last anecdote of Mark Twain?
Oh gosh, when we went to the Mark Twain house, we came home with all kinds of little goodies from the gift shop.
Of course, of course.
Yes, well, Mark Twain pencils were very much in use around here for several years. And I believe that there is a tie and a mug also from that trip. And we had lunch at the little cafe at the Nook Farm Cafe. So it was a nice trip. It was a very nice trip.
And this is a nice trip as well, folks. If you ever make it to Hartford, Connecticut, come on by the Mark Twain and the Harry Beecher Stowe House. And Hartford itself is a wonderful community with other historical items around town. Thanks for joining us, the Rare Book Cafe. Lee, we'll see you on the next show, everybody.